Hello, I'm Kate Farrell, your host and storyteller. Today, I am excited to welcome Barbara Sapienza for an interview and readings from her newly released book, The Girl in the White Cape. Barbara and I both live in the San Francisco Bay Area. We both enjoy fairy tales and fiction that depict the hero and the heroine's journeys. Now, Barbara is a retired clinical psychologist and author of three wonderful books whose characters seek to discover who they are in their deepest selves. The Girl in the White Cape is an adaptation of the Russian fairy tale Baba Yaga and Vasilisa the Wise. It is a perfect book to discuss on this YouTube channel, Storytelling the Heroine's Journey. Welcome, Barbara. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Kate. I feel blessed. The way you found my book, the synchronicity of it all, and the fact that I wrote about Baba Yaga and you read stories and teach about her. It's such a lovely coincidence and synchronistic experience for me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I am so glad you're here. And I just love how you reimagine. Oh, Baba Yaga is how you pronounce her name. Is that correct? Is there a difference in how one would pronounce Baba Yaga to Baba Yaga?
I don't think so. I think we need to just go where it feels right. I'm not sure what the Russian way to pronounce it is. Is it what you have, Baba Yaga or Yaga? Um,
I don't know, but for now, we'll just pronounce it as we understand and hear her name. What I do know about Baba Yaga is that she is the most popular and complex character in all of Russian folklore.
mm.
And um, and so we get to see her in a new way in your book. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your own background, your family legacy, some of the generational experiences that are part of who you are.
Well, I was a psychologist, as you said, but I grew up in Boston and came to California, and my grandparents were a very significant part of my life. They came over on a boat from Sicily in the early 1900s, and I think that journey that they made and the journey that most immigrants make really affected me. And when I came to San Francisco, I felt like I was on some kind of journey. I didn't know who I was. I left my home, I left my family. And I guess when you read my novels, you really see these characters these three women in the different novels who have left. And they have left something and they don't know who they are and they don't know where they're going. And it really touches my heart when I say that, but I think that's my story.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I write, I somehow come to that. Each of my characters is sort of on a journey, and I think the journey is important, and I think we do it all the time. And once we get there, there's a new journey. It just keeps
Mhm.
going on. So this fairy tale really appealed to me because I felt as though this girl, and I called her Elena, her name is Vasilisa in the book, in the fairy tale, is on a journey. And I tried to bring it up to 2020 before COVID to a little hut in the Richmond district and tell her story. And I think it's our story in some way. I think it's a feminine story, and I think it's my story. And I hope that if you read it, you'll find something in it for you too.
That's great. And what inspired you in particular to choose this fairy tale, this particular
It's,
one? Because, the whole feminine quest has many, many variations. Why
right.
this one?
Well, I first read it in Clarissa Pinkola Estes' book, Women Who Run with Wolves.
Right.
And I really loved it. And I think I loved it because of what I said earlier, that there's some way that this girl is cast, she loses her mother and she's cast out into the world and she has to find her way. But what really appealed to me was that she had a doll, and the doll was something that she could keep with her in secret. It was hers and to be hers alone. And she could confide in it and she could ask it for help. And somehow that felt to me like we must all have a doll inside us, everyone, men and women, and that if we can just nurture her and give her love, we can ask her for help. And that is our inner knowing, our intuition. And so that was the first. I wasn't thinking of the heroine's journey. I was thinking, wow, do I have a doll? And
Mhm.
we all have a doll, I decided. And then that intuitive part really appealed to me.
Right. That particular motif, as we would say in folklore, that particular archetype or motif of the doll. And yet in all the other Cinderella type stories of the feminine quest, the good mother, the loving mother who dies usually leaves something, whether it's a tree that grows again, whether it is a fish or a magical talisman of some kind. But in this case, the doll, and you name the doll Kukla. And so it becomes, as you said, very important for Elena, but also it represents something, an inner strength, inner ability for all of us. So I wonder if you would be willing to read a little bit from your book. I was captivated by that first scene with Baba Yaga. And I don't know, she's on 36th and Taravel Street, you said?
Yeah, yeah, she is.
Well, that's actually the Sunset District.
That's right.
It's on the other side of the park. I used to live on 22nd and Taravel.
No, so
and
funny.
and my dad, well, I was when I first left home and I was living on Taravel Street, and my dad called it Terrible Street.
Maybe he knew that she lived nearby.
That's right. That's right. And so she was just down the road, and I just love thinking about that. So could you share with us a little bit about that chapter 2 and how you saw Baba Yaga in her hut here in San Francisco?
Right in San Francisco. Well, I put her on Taravel Street. I'm not sure. Maybe I thought of it as Terrible Street too. But the first, in the second chapter, it's called Fee Fi Fo Fum. Elena, the main protagonist, is 15 years old, and she has to go to the house every day. She has to go there. Her protector, Father L, sends her there to learn. And so I'll start here and read a little bit. Okay. Let's see. She asked on several occasions why she had to go there. Now I'm going to start. From the middle room, let's see. From the middle room, Eleanor jiggles the squeaky doorknob into Baba's kitchen. But before she can open it, she hears Baba Vera dart to the door calling, Fee, fi, fo, fum. Baba still plays this game, even though it's no longer a surprise. It's as if she role plays the big bad witch of the fairy tale to test Elena. Or she's just a mad woman, which Elena increasingly suspects is the case. Who is there? Baba opens the door, wearing her red apron and brown garden boots, and ushers Eleanor into the warm kitchen of the log-framed hut. The black iron stove is burning with red embers, and a pot of soup is boiling. Tall beef ribs stick out of the pot and salute Eleanor. She doesn't know where to look. The place is a mess. This fee-fi-fo-fum has long been Barbara's way of greeting her. It's like her signature handshake. Maybe it's the way of keeping Eleanor on her toes, but it doesn't scare her anymore. After years of the same greeting, she's grown used to it. Baba knows when she's arrived. She runs around the hay on her broom, making dust, spinning the straw into whirlpools, and orders, "Sweep it up, dearie, and do it cheery, ha ha ha." Before Eleanor takes off her cape, she asks, "Baba, please can you tell me about the woman visiting Father Al this morning?" Baba squeals, swirling once again in the whirlpool of dust she's created. And the sound makes Eleanor jump. It reminds her of a high-pitched voice she heard this morning at the door of Father Al's chapel. She's not surprised that Baba knows. She imagined Baba has a crystal ball and that she must know about the taxi driver too. And I'll stop there.
Oh,
In case
great.
you get a picture of her.
So that is such a wonderful image of her, with her apron and her garden boots and twirling around just like a magical bean and, not answering questions, but posing tasks. I mean, everything you would expect an impossible shamanistic character, a wild woman.
A mad woman.
A mad wild woman of the woods to
Mhm.
test this. And you say Elena, is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's the way you pronounce it, Yelena. I believe that Russians would say Yelena.
Elena,
Mm.
Elena, Elena,
Elena. Yeah.
Elena. So later on, what I find that it also is so amazing about this book is the independence, the aloneness of Elena, and how she really walks through the Golden Gate Park, the streets of the city on her own at night or even in the early morning. And that is a very scary thing for anyone who lives in the city right now, and probably at any point in recent times, because you never know who's sleeping there, who's hiding out there. There's all kinds of places to hide. And so that became to me a very unusual heroine, and so like Vasilisa, who had to go through the terrible, she had to traverse that forest to the deep, dark forest that is part of the feminine quest. And you bring it right back into our very backyard. So could you read a little bit about Elena as she's leaving Baba Vera? Her name is Baba Vera.
Yeah, her name is Baba Vera. Yeah. She's
in the book. Yeah.
in the
And
book.
then,
That's the Baba Yaga. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
easily recognized. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So okay. So in addition to her cape, her doll, tucked in her pocket, protects her from danger. She squeezes her. All is well, she tells herself. She walks so quietly at peace, alert to the energy, the great web of roots rising from the ground through her feet and expanding through her body. With nightfall, her vision adjusts to the dark, and her hearing and sense of smell seem more acute. The eucalyptus, with their peeling bark, add streaks of white to the forest mix, nourishing her with a fragrance. The oaks, her favorite, provide a thick carpet of moist mulch to cushion her each day. Sometimes even the smell of a dead animal picks her up, for it too offers a reminder of life. Life touches her everywhere as she walks through the mulch. Rats and mice run over and under the soft mulch carpet, and the adorable mole looks so much like a seal with its velvety coat. She tastes the earthy essence of the forest in this unique park. It stretches for miles across the Pacific Ocean. She imagines that this used to be sand dunes and that she's walking in a converted seabed, which thrills her. She stops at the pond on Middle Drive, as is her custom, and sits on its edge to feed a flock of ducks with the dried bread she carries in her red shoulder bag. The littlest ducks always lags behind. Eleanor worries about her, fearing she will be lost from family or be eaten. Be careful, won't you? She entreats the duck silently. Her body shakes in some mysterious premonition as she envisions the death of the fledgling. The little duck swims toward her outstretched hand and pecks the crumbs. Eleanor listens to the lapping of the water meeting the edge of the pond, and as she does, she hears a soft whisper, which she knows to be a human sound, a slight shh, a sweet whistling sound. Was this meant to alert her? Suddenly, she realizes she's not alone. Someone stands quietly at a distance watching her, a small, thin man.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. That really gives us such a deep sense of Elena, who is, not only is she walking in a dangerous urban park like Golden Gate, like Central Park, but also she is beyond that moment, feeling the life there. And yet, as you mentioned, which is part of the feminine quest, she feels the death, of, a premonition of death, sort of that part of the same experience. It's just so beautifully written, such great details, smells, sounds, her own emotion, her own visions. So we only have a little bit of time left. I wonder if you could share sort of what you shared at the end of the book, which is her foundling story, how it really began. It was a secret, but at the very end, she discovers. Do you want to share it, or would you rather not? Because it could be a spoiler. What if you gave a tiny little hint, like Baba Yaga would?
Well, her story, she's struggling with the different sides of the feminine. Baba Yaga represents this witch. However, she also represents discipline and discernment, which are things that the feminine needs. And yet there's a mother who is a good mother who died and left her in a church when she was an infant and left her with a beautiful note. I can read the note if you like.
Okay.
And then there's an evil, in the fairy tales, often there's a bad mother and a good mother, and that we're we're dealing with that inside our archetype. There's a bad mother and there's a good mother, and there's a place for both of them. And oftentimes when children are adopted, or they project that there is a good mother who left them and a bad mother. Well, in this story, there's a good mother and a bad mother. And the good mother left her a note, and it says, Dear Elena the wise, the beautiful, and the fair, I feel so much sorrow to leave you here, but I feel joy as well, because I know you will be safe with Father Al. He's a good person who has helped me here in San Francisco. Well, I must return to Russia. I leave you with this little doll, with my blessing. Keep her with you always. If you ever are in trouble, give the doll something to eat and ask its advice. She will show you the way. And then she signs it, with love, Masha, your mother. Eleanor repeats her mother's words from the note she long ago memorized. It's tucked into her favorite fairy tale book. She squeezes Kukla as she repeats in her mind, I leave you this little doll with my blessing. Keep her with you always. So she has this doll, and the other mother is trying to capture her and kill her. And so this is kind of what's going on when she's asking the Yaga, who is this woman that's chasing me? What's going on here? And of course, Baba knows, because Baba knows everything, and gets resolved somehow. And I won't spoil it.
Right. You want to know how it works out, the great drama, and other wonderful characters that we haven't even mentioned, which is a parallel plot in the book, is very charming. I really suggest that you find this book wherever you can. And it's both on Kindle as well as paperback, and give it a read. It's a wonderfully nourishing. And at the very end of the book, you also include your version of the Russian fairy tale itself.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. This has been so much fun to talk about my book again. And I love this, again, this synchronistic experience between you and I about how you found the book and your work, your deep work around feminine consciousness, which is so important.
Right. It is. It's so important right now. And maybe we can ask the audience a few questions. If you're ever at a point of crisis, what is your doll? What is it within yourself? Is it a strength that comes from your intuition? Is it a strength you've inherited from generations past, your ancestral, maternal, ancestral legacy? What is your doll, and how is it important to you? Thanks so much for listening.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, yes.
I have one more question, and that is, how do you nurture her? How do you feed her?
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. I hope you will subscribe to the channel and other episodes talking and discussing these fairy tales in fiction, in real life, are coming soon.